So, the new Kenobi Obi-Wan season just ended, and honestly, I think it was just fine in its existence. It's not often that we get Star Wars stories that are easy to digest for the main media, so I like that this series didn't try to overcomplicate itself like the prequel movies did. These Star Wars stories are always fun, and when they are simple plots followed by good writing and good action, that's just how I like my Star Wars. I always like it that way. Making a Star Wars story should always be fun and easy, but somehow I've been proven that that cannot be the case for some odd reason. I am fully aware that they keep making the same show over and over and over again. Disney loves the message of caring for others. In The Mandalorian, he learns how to take care of a child. The Bad Batch, they go on adventures while taking care of a child. Even the new Boba Fett show has them learning to take care of others, not just children, but others. I know, quite the formula change there. It can be a little tricky. Honestly, I think I'm just frustrated with the amount of babysitting that all these Star Wars shows have, but at the same time, I'm just trying to turn off my brain and enjoy what is in front of me. Mindless Star Wars fun. If it sounds like I have a little bit of uninterest and annoyance with Star Wars, it's because I had recently rewatched the sequel and prequel trilogy, and that kind of put me in a bad mood. So I'm going to try to lean off the Star Wars nitpicks here, because there weren't that many in this series, if I'm being honest. Like I said, Obi-Wan is mostly good stuff. The only thing that I can think of at the top of my head is that a lot of people didn't like Leia's involvement with the story, her just being a child in danger and the whole rescue mission thing, or some people just thinking that the child didn't need to be Leia. To me, it was honestly fine. It didn't mess with the pacing or character development that we had, and she didn't really steal the show. You can't really sell merchandise off a young Leia, so I think this one in its entirety is going to be perfectly okay with her being in it. This Obi-Wan story is mostly kind of a transition more into his Ben phase. He's also still adjusting to the rise of the Empire and his loss while being on a rescue mission. He also discovers what exactly there is to push back against the system and to have hope once again, which is something that this Obi-Wan very much has very little of because he's still coming off a big ass loss. You also still get goofy side characters, decent action scenes, and more of a revolutionary uprising-like story than we are used to in Star Wars. If I'm being honest, this story did remind me a bit of Rogue One, only due to the fact that most of it feels like a long chase scene like we've seen in other stories like Empire and Last Jedi. However, in this story, it's not really rushing itself, which means you have time to learn new characters and care for their ambitions and values. They are very much mostly refugees fighting for what they believe in. And yes, I don't necessarily identify them as rebels yet, because at the beginning they're more of into saving lives, and they only really fight if it's their only option. It's not their first resort. By the end of it, they know there is a real hope for them to make cause and change in their galaxies, so they start fighting back. By the end of it, most of those refugees see that they actually have a fighting chance against the Empire, which kind of ignites more of a flame into their cause. It also made it feel like everyone's contributions to the cause did matter as well. It's really nice when these shows go out of their way to show you that literally everyone matters in the story, even the Grand Inquisitor, which, by the looks of the trailer, I didn't think I'd actually give a shit about. It's safe to say that Reva definitely had a true revenge arc-like side plot, and the villains are always the best in these shows when you can kind of side with them even a little. Vader isn't supposed to be the villain that you're supposed to have any sort of reason with. Reva's more of the character that you're supposed to learn their backstory and understand why they do what they do and what drives them. I was also worried about this show going into it because I remember those prequel movies, and I was a little scared on how the dialogue was going to be written. Yeah, George Lucas didn't write the dialogue in Obi-Wan, but he did write the dialogue in the prequel movies. Seeing them create new scenes from those original prequel movies with the same actors while trying to use CGI to de-age Hayden Christensen, I felt that I had a right to be a little bit worried. But I absolutely didn't need to be, and I'm glad that we got to see these prequel characters saying dialogue that at least sounded like something a real person would say to another real person. The weirdest thing about those scenes in the prequel are still how the characters conversed with each other. It's so unnatural. And this story was still very much focused on the relationship between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. The idea that Anakin is still somewhere down there inside Vader is a belief that Obi-Wan holds for almost the entire runtime. Kenobi obviously feels a huge responsibility for Anakin's turn and the rise of the Empire, and he just only hopes to undo that, or that he still has the chance to. One of the best scenes in the finale was Obi-Wan realizing that his friend truly is gone. There is no chance at Obi-Wan bringing back Anakin, and he now just sorta has to accept that and fight the true evil that remains. We already know all this as an audience, but seeing that happen before our eyes is surprisingly heartfelt. Like I had already said, these Disney-made Star Wars stories are a lot of times a hit or miss, but I do feel like Obi-Wan is the exception to this, as it is actually an entertaining, good Star Wars story. I very much see myself rewatching this sometime in the future, and I might even be inclined to show this to someone as sort of their first Star Wars story. I didn't really have a lot to say about this one. It was just more of a fun story for a Star Wars character that we all know and love. And I don't really think that it needs any more seasons. It's fine as a singular season. It doesn't need any more. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give this one an 8 out of 10. I know that this show probably genuinely deserves a 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, but I just love this character so much, and yeah, I'm just a Star Wars fanatic. Fuck me. I'm gonna do an 8 out of 10.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
I'm coming up there and I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you.